This episode is proudly supported by Anchor Food Professionals. Whether you're a caterer, cafe operator, or chef running a commercial kitchen, everyone knows quality products are the foundation of successful dishes. Anchor Food Professionals is a trusted supplier to the hospitality industry and has built a stellar reputation thanks to their consistently excellent butter, cream, and cheese. As the food service business of Fonterra, Anchor Food Professionals is home to many well-known brands such as Perfect Italiano, Mainland, Western Star, and Bega, and is now an important part of the Australian food service sector. Anchor Food Professionals has a history of innovation and expertise in sustainable dairying that delivers a world-class product portfolio. If quality cheese, cream, and butter are important to your creations, head to anchorfp.com.au to explore the range.
We get out of the airport and we find our way to our Airbnb, and there's every intersection has the army with guns directing people, and I'm like, I think I've just taken my partner to the wrong place.
This is the Deep in the Weeds podcast. I'm Anthony Huckstep. We caught up with Mischa Tropp earlier this year to talk Toddy Shop, but his world has become a little bit busier since the opening of Kolkata Cricket Club. He joins us today to share a few yarns from his travels. Mischa, how are you?
Good, mate. Thanks for having me.
It's good to get you back on the show. You've had a hell of a year. How are you at the moment?
I'm good. I'm really enjoying cooking at the moment. It's nice to cook Toddy Shop food and then be able to transition to something totally different and be proud of it.
Tell us a little bit about the Kolkata Cricket Club.
Kolkata Cricket Club is something style-wise that I was looking at doing way before Elsie's. Before Toddy Shop. It was it's kind of like a Indian members club. It does a mixture of classic Indian and then Bengali cuisine, kind of inspired by like the gymkhanas and like members clubs of like Kolkata and like Bombay, and that kind of like space you come in to like socialize.
Amazing. What is the experience like for the diner?
You walk into a dining room where you've got white tablecloths. I've got beautiful block print lamps that I've sourced from India. I've sourced a lot of the plateware from India. It's kind of coming into an Indian restaurant where you get good service, you get really beautiful food. It's kind of the full experience, and I've been wanting to do it for a long time because we haven't necessarily had that in Australia. It exists overseas, but this has been the first opportunity I've had to do it.
How did that opportunity come about?
Actually, I was chatting to Dave Mack, and he's like, "Oh, there's this space at Crown. I just want to activate it. I'm going to do a sports bar. I need someone to cook burgers." So I was like, "Why don't we sling butter chicken?" that was about 4 months ago, and as all conversations, it starts with one thing and then it evolves. And so it evolved from slinging butter chicken to like being a proper Indian restaurant. And my partner designed the space, and she's done such an amazing job.
You're sort of leading the way with the new wave, and particularly with Indian cuisine, which we've all been anticipating and very excited for. But you've travelled the globe a lot as well. Do you have any sort of food travel stories you can share?
Yeah, totally. I think the first one that comes to mind is, I haven't done it in a little while, but I used to go to India every 6 to 12 months and do these crazy food trips where like nothing mattered other than the food that I was trying to eat and find out about. I was in Kovalam, which is down the south of Kerala, and we're at this tourist beach where like all the food was a bit average and we didn't know what we wanted to eat. So anyway, we just wander down back into town, which is like just a busy highway. We start asking random people where we should eat. And this guy picks us up on the side of the road and's like, right, we're going to drive you to the best place around here. And he drives us down the road, probably 10 minutes away to this Muslim area that's called Junction. And this little hub where they have these fried chicken shops, which have these vats of oil with this like big chili oil slick on top, and they do Kerala style, or I would call it like Kovalam style fried chicken with parota, and then they do the same marinade on like squid and prawns and fish, and it's basically onions, heaps of chili, some curry leaves, and a bunch of spices. And there's so much onions and chili on there that they fry it off at almost like crispy bits. And because there's so much, it's almost like you've made a chili oil that you then deep fry your chicken in.
Wow.
And so anyway,
That
this was
sounds
like,
amazing.
we lost our minds and we're like, this is the most amazing thing we've ever eaten. And so we go back, and the next day we wake up, and the first thing we think of is, let's go back. So anyway, we go back the next day, and we're having a great meal, and I was travelling with Laura Neville, and she's like crying, it's so hot. And I'm like, I'm taking the piss out of her. I'm like, bloody white girl can't eat spice. Anyway, I've been eating everything else except the chicken. And the chicken turns out to be the hottest thing I've ever eaten in my life. It turns out that the later you go in the day, the more chili oil there is in the vat of oil, and the hotter the chicken gets. The only reason I finished my meal was the white girl got through it on the other side of the table, and I didn't want to be the guy that couldn't finish the meal.
Oh, that's brilliant.
So, yeah, but that was probably 8 years ago, and every time we talk about traveling India, that's the story of like, that's our best and favourite memory of traveling together in India.
Traveling is so important to the modern chef, and exploring sort of different cooking techniques and different cultures and cuisines. Do you have any other sort of food stories that you can share with us?
Yeah, this is another India one. The last trip to India was probably 13, 14 months ago. And I've always wanted to travel to Kashmir. I've always thought the food looked amazing, and I'd never seen a way to eat it that was traditional outside of going to Kashmir. And it had intrigued me for a long time. And so anyway, I take my partner, Min, on a trip to Kashmir, and typical me, I don't really plan anything, and I don't do enough research. I kind of just rock up and figure it out. We arrive in Kashmir, and Kashmir, if you know anything about Kashmir, it's been a contested area for a long time. There's a lot of political, and there's a big political struggle over control of Kashmir and the identity of Kashmir. And so we land there, and there's people with guns everywhere. Our mobile phones don't work because I discovered that the only SIM cards that work in Kashmir are Kashmiri SIM cards. And so we land, and we're like, oh, this is a bit weird. And then so we get out of the airport, and we find our way to our Airbnb, and like, there's every intersection has the army with guns directing people, and I'm like, I think I've just taken my partner to the wrong place. Anyway, we the first couple of days are a bit weird, and then we discover that actually the locals in Kashmir are some of the most beautiful people you've ever met. They're incredibly hospitable. They love the fact that there's tourists who can come back and visit them again. And this place is stunning. It's on the eastern side of the Himalayas. So in the Srinagar, the city, you can see the Himalayas on one side. And the food is probably one of the most amazing cuisines I've ever eaten. They have this thing called goshtaba, which is lamb that's been pounded with a mallet, and they emulsify fat into this lamb meatball that literally they sit there and they just hammer with a mallet, emulsifying over hours this lamb until it goes from like little chunks into like this like sticky, emulsified light ball that they then like poach in either like a chili gravy or like a yogurt gravy, and it's incredible. It's like this bouncy, aerated. It's almost like sausage meat, aerated sausage meat, and just like the level of time and care and detail that goes into that cuisine. It's something I feel like I could never replicate.
Yeah, that sounds amazing.
Yeah. So it's one of those places that like it's challenging at first, but once you get there and like experience I'm so grateful that I spent time there.
Your travels have played a big role in the food that you cook and the influences of your heritage as well. Is there any place on the planet that you'd suggest people to go and check out that they may not have considered?
Kashmir is definitely one of them. Go for the food. The food's incredible. The people are incredible, and then we only spent a day hiking, but we went to Palgrim and spent a day hiking up into the mountains, and it's one of the most beautiful places I've ever been. There's no paths. You just have a guide hiking up basically the edge of the Himalayas in with this beautiful environment and like we got to meet the local gypsies, and it's not like any experience I've had before. Yeah. That's probably the highlight of the last 5 years in terms of places I've been.
Well, you had a huge 2024. How are you feeling about the year ahead with 2025? And do you have some plans to move beyond the two venues?
Right now, 2025 is just about focusing on detail now. It's looking at what I've done over the last 12 months and just paying attention to the details so that we can continue to improve. I think I never planned on opening two venues in 12 months, and it takes a lot of time and energy. So as we get better, and like Kolkata Cricket Club is like, I'm really happy with the food, but it's obviously week one, and it takes a few months to like really get your groove and figuring out like where you want your direction to be. There's so much research that we can do into Bengali cuisine and really do it justice. I've done the bits that I know really well, but I think that thing with like regional cuisines is like, especially when you grow up in another country, is to do that cuisine well, it takes a lot of time and energy. And so my focus will be on like figuring out how to do a regional cuisine justice so that the people who grew up there feel really proud of that food.
Well, as always, it's an absolute honour to catch up with you again. It's very exciting to see what you're going to do in the future there in Melbourne. Please keep in touch and we'll catch up again soon.
Thanks, Huck. Thanks for having me.
This is the Deep in the Weeds podcast. I'm Anthony Huckstep. Stay tuned as we take a deep dive into the lives of the incredible people who ply their trade in the food and hospitality sector. Special thanks to executive producer Rob Locke for making this all happen. Follow us on Instagram at Deep in the Weeds Podcast or email us at podcast@deepintheweeds.com.au. Stay safe and be well.